Hello and welcome to another artwork flip through deck for a pre-con. We've reached a point now where we're up to the first Commander product, so over a number of weeks I'm going to go through those 5 decks. These came out in 2011. I actually do have unboxings for these on the channel, so I'll include a link. I do apologise, obviously, for the quality of the video is probably not up to the same standard as these in terms of the crispness of the video. It's just with what I was using at the time. But anyway, it's just interesting, I think, anyway, to see my original unboxings, because there is a bit more explanation about the deck in those than there are in these videos, because we purely focus on the artwork. One extra thing I will say about this particular set of decks, of which this is the first, is that it was part of something they were calling the Summer of Magic. So this had become a bit of a tag they were using. I'm sorry, not Summer of Magic, I misspoke, I meant to say Summer of Multiplayer. So Summer of Multiplayer, and that was sort of lumped in with the fact that, 2009 we had Plane Chase and 2010 we had Arch Enemy. So this idea that they were putting in this sort of multiplayer slot in at certain points in the year, and that's something they did going forward. 2012 got a bit weird because we had the Commander Arsenal, but then after that in 2013 they picked it back up again with the Commander product and then carried on. Obviously they've done slight variations since then. Also interesting, if you're watching what's going to be going into the most recent Commander decks, or the ones that are about to be released when the next set comes out, I think it's March of the Machines. Yeah, if you've not checked it out, I won't spoil it, check out what's going in there, because there's a connection between some of the stuff I've done earlier in these flip throughs. I spent probably too long already just chatting, so let's have a look at this artwork. This is the Heavenly Inferno white, black, red deck, and you can see here I tend to call him the lead commander, was Kaalia of the Vast, and you had these sort of alternates, which were, there were some wedge colour legends and some legendary dragons as well in this deck, which we'll see. I'm going to go through, it's going through roughly in order of rarity from highest to lowest. I didn't spend a super long time sorting these as I've done with previous decks, because sometimes when you've got to do 100 cards and 5 decks, you're going to see all the artwork anyway. So no rules text in these videos, purely artwork. This particular Commander product just makes me, I always go on about how nostalgic I feel with these videos, but this one I was looking forward to the most, and it was really hard not to leapfrog over the other multiplayer products to get to here, but I really wanted to provide the context on the timeline. And there's so many. I remember getting super excited by just a singleton format. There's something about the randomness. I don't know if I've ever mentioned, but one of my favourite card-based games is Flux, and I just love the variance of singleton formats. I think that's probably one of the reasons why I like sealed so much as well. And you'll probably notice as we go through these decks, because we can see the names on these and the card types, that there were a number of cycles within the product. These were 3-colour decks, and you can see with these that you might notice that some of those, we're going to get 3 out of the 5 cycles quite possibly, if that was indeed the case. All of the decks have a soul ring, and all of the decks had a command tower. I think this was the first time as well with decks where they had both new and previously sort of released cards, or previously reprints. So yeah, combination of completely new cards that hadn't been in any sets, and as a consequence of being printed in here, were only playable in Eternal formats, for which they were legal at the time, and then also reprints as well. And as part of that, new cards, you notice as they went through the Commander product over the years, they would often introduce a new ability word or new mechanic, or maybe several. In this one, I think it was join forces. Was the ability word in question. But of course we're here for the artwork. And for these 3 colours, it was actually a wedge configuration. So this being a white, black, red. The white and the black and the white and the red are enemy colours, and the black and the red are allied colours, and that forms a wedge shape when you sort of join up the dots on the that Wooburg colour pie on the back of the card. As you can see there, the sort of wedges pointing upwards on this one, if you imagine in your mind tracing those lines. Lots of cool stuff in here. I also remember playing these decks like 1-to-1 or 1-on-1, so not in multiplayer with family members. Particularly my nephew, who'd become interested in Magic the Gathering at the time. just left these in their inner protective sleeves that they were in, just to keep the cards nice. Doesn't look like it's interfering too much with the light here. So. There's our soul ring. I think that's the one thing. I think I probably would have preferred that they maybe printed the original artwork for that. So we're moving on to common here. Of course, a lot of the reprints here, well, in the case where they've drawn them from sort of pre-modern card frames, are going to be in the new style card frame with the old art. And you can see here we've got 3 signets to cover the, each signet is 2 colours, and that covers the wedge combination. Okay, so now we get on to our non-basic lands. So it'll be interesting to see what we see here, and I know we're mainly focusing on the artwork, but I'm sure a lot of you watching these videos are already familiar with what these cards do, even if you just see the name. What I found interesting as well with these decks is, in the case of the non-basic lands, they wouldn't always, include the complete sort of on colour parts of a cycle. You might get bits of it in combination with, particularly with, say, the dual lands, with other dual lands that weren't in that cycle. But what they did tend to do a lot is print these particular bounce lands from the original Ravnica block. Will show you that, so you can, if you're familiar with that, the way in which that's executed. So yeah, those 2 colour bounce lands seem to crop up a lot in the pre-con product over the years. So command tower. Got an Evolving Wilds in here as well. And now we just move on to the basic lands. So I don't think for this deck I've particularly put them together, but I think there's only a couple of printings of each artwork anyway, because it's a 3 colour deck. So. I mean, personally, my own feeling on this in terms of the artwork for the basic lands is, I actually think it would have been quite nice if they'd, in keeping with the singleton format, had actually just kept each piece of artwork different. So you only had one instance of artwork for a particular colour of mana in your basic lands. I suppose later that may have got a bit of a problem for some of the monocolour decks that they printed in later iterations of Commander. Potentially finding 30 different pieces of artwork that would look good, but yeah, there's plenty of basic land artwork out there, so they probably could have done it. So we've got some classic mountain artwork here. Oops. Oh, you've seen these already actually. I always like to make sure that the full cheese board, or at least the part I'm filming on, always gets a nice appearance at the end there. Thanks once again for watching. Bye for now, and I'll catch you in the next video.